Hi, I am Ozzy, your resident coffee addict. While not a member of Source Gaming, I was allowed as a guest to write, edit, and narrate this episode of all content for all of you to enjoy. In this episode, I will be taking an indie series whose Smash popularity has been rising quite a bit recently, Touhou Project. Since this is a series that some may be completely unfamiliar with, I will try my best to explain why it's such a notable series and showcase what it could bring to the table as a Smash inclusion. But what even is Touhou? The Touhou Project is a series of bullet hell shoot-'em-ups, created and developed by just one person, Junya Ota, better known by his nickname Zun. The series is best known for its brutal yet fair difficulty, memorable characters, and exceptional music. With 18 mainline titles spanning over 24 years, as well as various multimedia spin-offs, including a sub-series of fighting games, Touhou is a veritable cultural phenomenon in Japan and maintains a solid Western following as well. A notable aspect of Touhou Project is Zun's openness to fanworks. He encourages fans to freely use the Touhou universe and its characters for their own fan creations. With a constant stream of high-quality works, such as fan games and fan music, Touhou fanworks are considered to be a key element to its everlasting popularity. With even Zun himself saying he'd like to see Touhou in Smash, it's only natural that a series with such a dedicated fanbase would be a popular Smash request. And with the series recently making its first official appearance on Nintendo consoles, with the release of its latest fighting game, Antinomy of Common Flowers, on Switch, now is as good a time as any for it to make its Smash debut as well. So without further ado, let's dive into all the Touhou content we could see in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Starting things off is its fighter. And despite having dozens of notable characters, Touhou's Smash representative could not be more obvious. Reimu Hakurei is the main character of the series, having appeared in almost every Touhou game to date. As the lazy and carefree shrine maiden of the Hakurei Shrine, her duty is to protect the sealed world of Gensokyo by resolving incidents and exterminating yokai. But much to her annoyance, her former enemies tend to become frequent visitors of her shrine, making it rarely get any fate or donations from humans. Having appeared in 6 fighting games so far, Reimu has more than enough material for a moveset. Most of her normal attacks will come straight from Touhou's fighting games, both the earlier ground-based fighters and the later air-based fighters, utilizing a variety of attacks with her rod, kicks, and spells. The series icon will be a yin-yang symbol. It's the symbol Reimu is most associated with, and it often appears in Reimu's tools and attacks. In terms of gameplay, Reimu will be a lightweight zoner whose playstyle revolves around constantly getting in and getting back out, having to take risks to make the most of her abilities. To enforce this playstyle, Reimu will have quite a few special abilities. The first is floating, which is Reimu's signature ability in Touhou, both figuratively and literally. Rather than functioning as an air dash like in Touhou's fighting games, in Smash it will work just like Peach and Daisy's floating. By holding the jump button, Reimu will be able to hover mid-air for several seconds. Second is her spell card gauge, which works in tandem with her third ability, Raising. Reimu's hurt box is smaller than her model suggests, and when an attack narrowly misses her due to this, the attack is grazed and the green spell card gauge gets filled depending on the strength of the missed attack. Each star on the gauge represents one spell card, which are used as ammunition for Reimu's down special. Reimu can have up to 3 spell cards at a time, and she starts each stock with 1 spell card. The last and most important one is her power gauge. This red gauge shows Reimu's current power level, which affects the secondary parts of her neutral, side, and up specials. These specials are capable of rapidly throwing extremely weak projectiles in addition to their normal functions, and the number of projectiles thrown at once is determined by Reimu's power level. Starting at level 1, the power gauge fills whenever Reimu deals damage with her normal attacks and slowly drains over time, draining faster as Reimu throws projectiles. When the gauge is filled completely, Reimu's power level increases by 1 up to a maximum of 4. When the gauge is fully drained, or when Reimu loses a stack, her power level goes down by 1. Speaking of her specials, we can now move on to explaining how they work. Reimu's neutral special is Yin Yang Orb and the Yokai Buster. Yin Yang Orb summons a large projectile that bounces around the stage for several seconds, damaging and launching enemies on contact. Reimu can also change its trajectory by hitting it with attacks, just like Link's remote bomb. While the Yin Yang Orb is out, her neutral special becomes Yokai Buster. Reimu throws 1 to 4 purple amulets upward, depending on her current power level. Individual amulets deal trivial damage and no hit stun, functioning like Fox's lasers and Bayonetta's bullet hearts. Their usefulness comes primarily from their numbers. Reimu can rapidly throw projectiles by either meshing or holding the B button, and can even keep moving while doing so. Whether you mesh or hold the button determines the spread of the amulets. Meshing throws them straight, while holding slows Reimu's movement, but makes her throw them in a fan shape to cover a wider area. Reimu's side special is Homing Amulet and Hakurei Amulet. Homing Amulet functions just like a meshed Yokai Buster, throwing 1 to 4 weak amulets forward. However, these amulets have small homing capabilities like Samus's missiles. If the button is held, the move instead becomes Hakurei Amulet. Reimu charges up briefly before throwing 2 large amulets that are faster, stronger, and can inflict hit stun. This move serves as her primary zoning tool. Reimu's up special is Dimensional Rift and Persuasion Needle. Dimensional Rift makes Reimu disappear and teleport upwards. It doesn't deal damage on its own, but it doesn't make Reimu helpless either. After using Dimensional Rift, Reimu's up special becomes Persuasion Needle until she lands or gets hit. It functions just like her amulets, throwing 1 to 4 needles at a downward diagonal angle. Meshing throws them in a fan shape, while holding throws them straight, functioning the opposite of Yokai Buster. Reimu's down special is Fantasy Seal. Reimu can only use this move when she has at least 1 star filled in her spell card gauge. By using one of these spell cards, Fantasy Seal summons 7 colorful orbs around Reimu that quickly home into enemies after a brief delay. These orbs are Reimu's most powerful projectiles. They deal high damage and knockback, and multiple orbs can hit the same enemy as well. In addition, not only does Fantasy Seal make Reimu invincible during its startup, but she can even use it right when she's being hit at the cost of 2 spell cards, making this move Reimu's ace in the hole. And last but not least is Reimu's Final Smash. Based on her ultimate attack, it's called Fantasy Nature Perfect Harmony. Reimu flips forward while hitting enemies underneath her, sending them to the Bamboo Forest of the Lost. There, Reimu is joined by either Marisa Kirisame or Yukari Yakumo as they team up and assault the enemy. Reimu then fades away while summoning 7 Yin Yang Orbs to bless the enemy with amulets. They are then finished off by either a Master Spark from Marisa or the running train summoned by Yukari. Of course, we still have Reimu's alternative costumes to cover. Her second color will naturally be her blue Player 2 costume from multiplayer Touhou games. Her next 4 colors reference the other most recurring main characters in the series. The series' deuteragonist Marisa Kirisame, followed by Sakuya Izayoi, Youmu Konpaku, and Sanae Kochiya. Her 7th color references Reimu's occasional partner Yukari Yakumo, and her last color references Reimu's classic design from the PC 98 Touhou games. 3 of the characters I mentioned earlier will also be our Mii Costumes. Marisa Kirisame as a Mii Sword Fighter, Sakuya Izayoi as a Mii Brawler, and Youmu Konpaku as a Mii Sword Fighter. There are many other possible costume choices, such as Cirno as a Mii Brawler, Sanae as a Mii Sword Fighter, or Reisen as a Mii Gunner. But in the end, I felt these 3 were the most appropriate picks. The series stage is naturally the Hakurei Shrine, Reimu's home, and the first and most recurring location in the series. It's a simple and flat walk-off stage, with the shrine safely staying in the background. Occasionally, small fairies will fly in while holding wooden platforms for fighters to stand on, adding variety to the battle as they come and go. The stage's main gimmick is its weather system. As the battle goes on, weather will change randomly, and each weather brings with it a specific stat boost for all fighters participating. By default, the weather is clear, providing no stat boosts. Cloudy weather boosts the power of normal attacks. Rainy boosts specials, snowy boosts defense, and stormy boosts speed. The stage also shifts between day and night as time goes on, with the boosts being stronger during the night. With the rules of the battle constantly changing, this stage is certain to provide a fun and chaotic battle for the participants. Of course, the fighters won't be alone during all of this. Hakurei Shrine is known for its many visitors, so following KOF Stadium's example, we will have 20 characters from Touhou Project appear in the background to spectate the fight. After some discussion, I decided to take the same approach as other long-running third-party series in Smash, and focus on characters from older, more iconic Touhou titles for this selection. In the end, the characters we went with are Marisa Kirisame, Alice Margatroid, Cirno, Patchouli Knowledge, Sakuya Izayoi, Remilia Scarlet, Youmu Konpaku, Yuyuko Saigyouji, Yukari Yakumo, Suika Ibuki, Reisen Udongein Inaba, Kaguya Reisen, Fujiwara no Moko, Aya Shameimaru, Mitori Kawashiro, Sanae Kochiya, Suwako Moriya, Tenshi Hinanabi, Satori Komeiji, and Koishi Komeiji. And just like KOF Stadium, these characters will always appear in the background if their associated music is playing. Of course, you can't mention Touhou without talking about music. Its legendary soundtracks are perhaps the most famous aspect of Touhou, and so I decided to give it special treatment in this matter due to its easy licensing. In the end, I went with 50 music tracks from throughout Touhou's long history, just like SNK. Since I can't exactly play all 50 tracks here, we will just go over some highlights that aren't featured elsewhere in the video. Have a listen. Reimu's classic route, titled Super Smash Incident, replicates the traditional structure of a Touhou game. In most Touhou games, the player goes through 6 scrolling stages, fighting weak fairies and occasionally a unique mid-boss along the way, before facing off against each stage's boss in a bullet hell battle. To replicate this, we will have each round be a stamina match, taking place on an Omega stage with a scrolling background. The player must first fight tiny Peach and Daisy minions representing fairies, sometimes alongside another fighter to represent a mid-boss, before facing off one-on-one against a female fighter that can use many projectiles. The sole exception is the first round, which instead references the start of the very first Touhou game, highly responsive to praise. It takes place in Hakurei Shrine, with the sole opponent being Reimu in her PC-98 colors, as the track Eternal Shrine Maiden plays in the background. The second round takes place in Rainbow Cruise, featuring 2 fairies and a Wii-Fit trainer, before the player faces off against Samus. The third round takes place in Corneria, with 3 fairies followed by Palutena. The fourth round features Venom, with 2 fairies and a Zelda, before facing off against a female Robin. The fifth round takes place in Town and City, with 3 fairies followed by Isabelle. Most Stage 5 bosses in Touhou are a close subordinate of the final boss, and Villager Secretary Isabelle fills that role here. So naturally, the 6th stage takes place in Smashville, features Isabelle as the sole minor enemy as she makes her last stand, and culminates in a battle against female Villager, the final boss of this story. But Touhou games don't just end with the main story, do they? After a player completes the main story of a Touhou game without using continues, they unlock the game's extra stage, a long and extremely difficult epilogue that ends with a fight against the ultimate boss of that game. Here, the player must fight 2 more fairies and a female Robin before the real boss appears. Since Smash Ultimate doesn't have a female boss character, we will instead feature Marks here to stand in for the infamous flanger Scarlet, the most well-known extra boss in the series. Her iconic theme, You When Owen Was Her, will be playing during the battle as well. Once they defeat Marks, the player can then enjoy the fitting shoot 'em up credits and truly be proud of themselves for overcoming this challenge. With the classic mode finished, let's move on to Spirits. In order to remain as objective as possible for this selection, I decided to only go with characters playable in single-player mainline Windows titles, which, excluding Reimu, gives our spirit board exactly the standard number of 11 spirits. Starting off with our fighter spirit, we have the Shrine Maiden of Paradise herself, Reimu Hakurei, featuring Zun's artwork of her from the latest Touhou game, Unconnected Marketeers. But while Reimu is the main heroine of the series, it wouldn't be Touhou without its second heroine, would it? Our first spirit is Touhou's deuteragonist and Reimu's best friend. A human witch living in the forest of magic, and a bold and showy thief always looking for precious things to get her hands on. The ordinary magician, Marisa Kirisame. An ace-level attack spirit fought on the distant planet stage, she is represented by Reimu and Marisa's colors, or a Mii sword fighter wearing her costume if the player has purchased it. As a magician, her magic attacks are naturally powered up, and she also starts the battle with a Star Rod to assault you with her flashy attacks. Yet the flashiest attack comes soon after. Suddenly gaining a final smash, Reimu representing her will summon Marisa herself to blast you with her signature Master Spark. She really is a show-off, isn't she? Next is an internet favorite, a fairy with the power to control ice and the strongest being in all of Gensokyo. Or so she thinks. In reality, she is just the lovely ice fairy of the lake, Cirno. A novice attack spirit fought on Omega Summit, she is represented by a tiny blue daisy. She starts the battle with a Freezy, and many of them will also spawn around the stage, but she's not interested in those. Rather, she will constantly use taunts, boasting of her strength. This means you can make quick work of this delusional little idiot. You get a 9 for your efforts, Cirno, out of 100. Moving on, we have a skilled maid with a mysterious past who works at the Scarlet Devil Mansion. Wielding the power to control time and armed with an endless supply of throwing knives, she is eternally devoted to her mistress as the elegant Maid of the Devil, Sakuya Izayoi. She appears as an advanced shield spirit on Luigi's mansion, represented by a Sheik or a Mii brawler wearing her costume. Substituting Sheik's needles for her knives, she uses them frequently and they are also much stronger than usual. But the main catch are the timer items spawning all around the stage. These are naturally drawn to Sakuya, who will gladly chase after and use these clocks to mess with time and show you whose world you're in. Stopping time and throwing knives? Sounds like a certain standout vampire, huh? But speaking of vampires, next we have Sakuya's mistress, an eternally young vampire who claims to be a descendant of Dracula and wields the power to manipulate fate itself. As one of Gensokyo's most infamous residents, this charismatic vampire's name is enough to strike fear into the hearts of many. The Scarlet Devil, Remilia Scarlet. She's an ace-level sports spirit, fought on Dracula's castle under a dense fog. Before facing Remilia, the player must first defeat the other residents of Scarlet Devil Mansion. First, its gatekeeper Meilin, represented by a green daisy, followed by its librarian Petulant Knowledge, represented by a pink robin, and finally the return of Sakuya, represented again by a Sheik or Mii brawler. After beating them all, their mistress will show herself. Remilia appears, represented by a tiny red bayonetta. But don't let her size fool you. This menace will constantly dash around the stage and assault you with her special attacks, while draining your health and healing herself with every hit. With her size, speed, and lifesteal, she can be a very threatening opponent. But in the end, her size means she's just a glass cannon. Once you catch her, you can easily break her charisma and expose this grand vampire for the little kid she truly is. Next is a magician who lives in the forest of magic and specializes in creating and controlling dolls. Utilizing these dolls for various purposes, the skillful yokai usually spends her time alone, focused on improving her craft and magic. The 7-colored puppeteer, Alice Margatroid. She's an advanced sports spirit, fought on distant planet just like Marisa. While she is represented by Rosalina and Luma, she also has 6 tiny minions representing her dolls, 2 each of Mii Brawler, Sword Fighter, and Gunner. Defeating these dolls is not necessary, but they can easily keep you from hitting Alice, letting her reach and use the many explosives appearing around the stage to blow both you and her own dolls to shreds. But as the battle goes on, she'll be missing those dolls a lot forever. Without them, she is left defenseless, and you can easily turn the tables and take this puppet master out of the stage. Next is a girl who is halfway to death, a half phantom who faithfully serves the princess of the Netherworld. Wielding the 2 swords Rokanken and Hakuroken, she is loyal and serious, yet also straightforward and half-baked. The half-human, half-phantom gardener, Youmu Konpaku. An advanced shield spirit fought on the Inaba Pokemon League stage, she is represented by 2 Lucinas or 2 Mii sword fighters wearing her costume if available. A green one representing her human body, and a transparent grey one representing her phantom body. Only the human side needs to be defeated to win. In addition to their normal swords, they also both wield a killing edge, and all their sword attacks are also stronger than normal. Without any special gimmicks, this is a straightforward battle befitting the straightforward Youmu. Nothing muon about this one. But our next spirit is anything but straightforward. Here we have Youmu's mistress. A girl born with the ability to invoke death upon anyone, she was too scared of her power and eventually took her own life. Yet she still lingers as a ghost, serving as the princess of the Netherworld. Playful and airheaded, yet shockingly perceptive underneath. The dreaming ghost, Yuyuko Saigyouji. She's an ace support spirit, fought on the Red Forest section of Reset Womp Forest in a stamina battle. Youmu returns here to make her last stand. The player must first defeat a highly damaged Lucina or Mii sword fighter before they can reach her mistress. Afterwards, Yuyuko will appear as a blue peach, having permanent super armor but moving slowly in return. Due to her power over death, the player will take sudden damage at specific intervals, but food items will constantly spawn to replenish the player's health and keep Yuyuko's appetite satisfied. If the player deals enough damage and keeps their health up, they can eventually KO this hungry ghost in hopes of victory. But ghosts don't move on that easily. Even after being knocked out, Yuyuko refuses to give up and reappears as a transparent white peach with 999 health. In this state, she retains her super armor and her attacks are stronger as well, making her essentially unbeatable. Yet every dream must come to an end. After 1 minute, Yuyuko's health will immediately drop down to just 1 hit point, and the player can then finish her off once and for all. But as Yuyuko's futile dream ends, something far more dangerous awakens. As night falls, the architect of Gensokyo arises. Wielding absolute control over the concept of boundaries, her godlike power is rivaled only by her own boundless intellect. As shady and manipulative as she is lazy, this cunning lady is the one and only yokai of boundaries, Yukari Yakumo. She's the legend sports spirit of our board, represented by a Reimu in her colors. Accompanying Yukari are 2 minions, a blue Zelda with a tanuki tail, representing Yukari's familiars Ron Yakumo, and a tiny red daisy with a tail, representing Ron's own familiar Chen. The battle takes place in the Hakurei shrine, but it's anything but normal for this battle. Thanks to Yukari's powers, both the time of day and the weather change constantly every few seconds, creating absolute chaos. Her powers extend even to the boundaries of the screen, making it flip constantly. And even the floor itself will make you as sleepy as Yukari herself if you stand there too long. And if you don't manage to fend off all 3 fighters in time, the Reimu representing Yukari will unleash a devastating final smash, summoning Yukari herself and giving you a one-way ticket to her pain tree. But despite everything, if you keep fighting and stay strong against all odds, you can eventually stand victorious and finally send this old hag back to her beauty sleep. While our hardest challenge is behind us, we still have a few more spirits to cover. Our next character hails from the night sky, a moon rabbit and former soldier who now lives on Earth as a refugee. Wielding the ability to manipulate insanity, her power is contrasted by her tame and level-headed personality. The lunatic moon rabbit, Reisen Udongein Inaba. A novice grab spirit, she is fought on the Suzaku Castle stage and is represented by a purple inkling wearing a bunny hood. The player must defeat her within 1 minute, otherwise they will immediately lose the battle. Knowing this, Reisen will be using her powers in an attempt to stall you, suddenly reversing the player's controls during the battle. But if you're prepared, it's easy mode. You can quickly cook up this rabbit and move on to the next stage. Coming up, we have Gensokyo's most infamous journalist, a crow Tengu eternally devoted to delivering very accurate and totally not exaggerated news to Gensokyo's residents. The traditional reporter of fantasy, Aya Shameimaru. She's a novice attack spirit, fought on jungle japes and represented by a black Korin. True to her reputation as Gensokyo's fastest, she is incredibly fast, but suffers from not being able to stop herself easily. The Yuri Kozukata assist trophy also appears during the fight, evoking the spin-off titles featuring Aya, taking pictures of the fighters to stop them in their tracks and aid Aya in her quest. While Aya may be holding back during this fight, the player should make sure to provide an entertaining battle for her readers regardless, for their own sake. We end with another Shrine Maiden, a girl from the outside world who was brought to Gensokyo alongside her shrine and its gods. Having become a minor goddess herself, this energetic girl wields the divine power to create miracles, the deified human of the wind, Sanae Kochiya. She is an advanced neutral spirit, fought on the Hakurei shrine stage under permanent nighttime and rain. She is represented by a Reimu in her colors and is accompanied by 2 minions standing in for her goddesses. A red Palutena that always uses up smashes, representing Kanako Yasaka, and a tiny Mii sword fighter that wears the Chibi Robo head, the Remilia outfit, and always uses Chakram, representing Suwako Moria. Sanae herself starts the battle with a super launch star and uses her powers to create heavy wind in addition to the rain. But even with the help of her goddesses, defeating Sanae herself is all you need to do to win the fight and acquire our last spirit. And that does it! Touhou is a series with a long history and a very dedicated fanbase. I hope this video helped make clear why so many people love this series and want to see it featured in Smash. This was my first time working on such a big video, so I hope it was a pleasant ride for both newcomers and fans of the series. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up and share it with your friends. I'll also try to answer any questions you might have in the comments section. A big thank you to Source Gaming for having me here today, and to all of their patrons for their support of this channel. Until next time, remember to stay safe, take it easy, and always return to the source.